How'd you go from an employment nightmare into your dream job? Welcome to the podcast that shows you even the most successful people had to work their way up from the bottom. I'm Matt Kerridge and I'm your host, and this is I'd Quit But I'm Broke, brought to you by Student Beans. Each week we have a different celebrity guest sharing their CV horror stories and funniest moments for our amusement. And this week it's star of Netflix's hit Afterlife and BBC Three's Bad Education, Ethan Lawrence. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ethan.
Thank you for having me.
So before we dive into your CV, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Right, so let's start at the very beginning. So when I was very young, like my mum is a very voracious reader. So I was always brought up around books, and I learned to read quite early, and I was quite good at it. And so when I was very young, I thought to myself, right, well, I want to be an author. I want to write books for a living. And my mum, she said to me, the thing with that is that it's not consistent work, so you're probably going to have to get an extra job just to supplement everything like that. And I was like, fair enough. Anyway, aged 11, I went to secondary school, started learning drama, and I was like, no, I've got it now. I want to be an actor. And my mum said, well, see, the thing about acting is very inconsistent work, so you're probably going to have to get, and so that's really, it was author, then actor from aged 11 onwards.
So you never ever had a dream of a secure, stable income?
Oh, God, no. No.
So it was about age 11 where you decided to give up on the writing side, or did you carry that on?
I mean, I still write occasionally, and I still read a lot. But acting is. It turns out that acting was my one true love. I don't know if I have the discipline to be an author now at this point.
Was it more like book writing you were into, or was it more stage plays?
I mean, I made an attempt at writing a novel. I've been working on that for 16 years. Maybe no, it was never going to see the light of day. Let's be honest. Scripts, when I was at university, I did drama and creative writing, and playwriting was a part of that, and I quite enjoyed that. I quite enjoyed formatting scripts and putting dialogue and things like that in there, and sketches and little bits and bobs. I was always kind of still writing because it's kind of adjacent to acting in a way, because we're all working off script. So if you're able to make a script and know how scripts work, it's always a useful skill to have, I think.
And you can always secure yourself a job after.
Absolutely, I could just write, and then it will be turned down by every studio in town. It's like this is very self-insert. This one, the character's literally called Ethan. Yeah, okay.
So how about we get stuck into your terrible job history? What is the worst job you've ever had?
See, I haven't had many sort of what you would call quote unquote real world jobs. So by default, the one that I did have is both the best and the worst, because it's in a field of one. And that was there was a period in my acting career, about maybe 6 or 7 years in, where I just had to run a bad form. The auditions were coming through, but I just wasn't securing the jobs. And so with rent to pay, I took up pizza delivery. Which was, and as I say, that's sort of the only honest work I've ever done.
And how long did that period last for?
So it was just shy of a year. Initially it was supposed to be, I'll just do this for 6 weeks until it picks up. I'll just do this for 3 months until it picks up. I'll just do this for half a year, and then on and on and on. But that ended up being my bread and butter. I was putting in 40, 50, 60 hour weeks, just taking any hours I could, just to keep myself in the black, as it were.
And that was the actual pizza delivery, like going to people's houses and...
Oh yeah, full on. Yeah, this was pootling around in my little Ford Fiesta.
And this was after Bad Education as well?
Long after. So Bad Education, the movie, was the last thing that we did, and that was in, I want to say 2015. So that was... this was in 2018, so I was 3 years clear of Bad Education at this point. And I think that's maybe partly why, because Bad Education ended up being kind of the closest thing I had to consistent work at any point, because we did the first series, and then it was recommissioned, and then recommissioned again, and then we had the film. And so between 2012 and 2015, I could always rely on that as a meal ticket. But as I say, once that sort of went, it was like, right, I'm kind of on my own now. And the work still came through, but as I say, it was just a poor run of form, just a bit of bad. It happens to every actor, I think, or anyone working in a creative industry.
You've spoken quite honestly about the ups and downs of being an actor when you're not a huge name and you are relying on cyclical roles, basically.
Absolutely. I mean, it's I in sort of the way I like to communicate on social media, I like to let people know that being an actor isn't all it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like, unless you're Tom Cruise, like, like, the work isn't consistent, that it's tough. Like, you audition like 3, 4, 5, maybe up to 10 times a week. And like, that you'll probably not get any of them. I often say that I've had more job interviews than most people have had hot dinners. But yeah, and I think in a way it's good to sort of demystify the process for people, because I think there's a certain level where people kind of look at actors and think to themselves, oh, they must be living the life of Riley. And it's really not like that. It's self-employed contract work, essentially. And like, it's not like this kind of magical, mystical fairyland. It's a business, and businesses sometimes have rough patches.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And you're a relatively recognizable guy. So how often how often was it that you'd go and deliver, a pepperoni pizza, and someone would open the door and be like, I know you. You're that guy from that show.
So there was a uniform for this pizza delivery. So I had a cap, and I also had a big old beard. So I was kind of disguised in that way. But I mean, to be honest with you, like, I'm not that recognizable, really. Like, it's I was a star on a digital TV show at the time. Like, it wasn't sort of like, it wasn't Coronation Street or EastEnders. And over the course of that year, I did somewhere within the region of about 16,000 deliveries. Oh, wow. And I think I got recognized 3 times, which is a very low percentage.
Yeah. And what did you say when they were like, oh, are you that guy?
I was like, oh my God, you're Joe from Bad Education. I was like, yeah, here's your pizza. Tip. Yeah. gonna tip the actor, please?
Like, you didn't get any like, oh, how come you're doing this? Like,
no, because the transaction at the door is, it's a short process, because at the end of the day, people want to eat their pizza.
Yeah, they're too hungry. Yeah?
They're like, oh look, that's a novelty. Anyway, I want to eat my pizza now. See you later. Door slam. No tip.
Did you have like a reason in your head planned just in case anyone ever asked?
I mean, it did occur to me like when I started doing it, but then when I realized that, it's a very eye-opening experience to realize how not famous you are. So, I didn't really think about it after that. I was like, if it happens, I'll just be charming. I'll just put on the charm offensive.
If you ever happen to have to go back to it, I've always thought you could just say you're a method actor. You're just getting in a role.
I want to be in Sliced. I want to. They won't return my calls. You joke, but like, having the real world experience of an actual job as opposed to sort of like the acting world, it was eye-opening, and it did teach me a lot. Like, I had to learn what a key performance indicator is. I wouldn't have had to do that if on Afterlife.
And what about acting roles? Is there an acting role that sticks out as a particularly, poor job? Like, not a poor job, but like a job that you maybe not regret, but was a bit harder to get through?
Not really, because this sounds cheesy as all hell, but like, I love acting. Like, I really, really, really love it. And so like, I've never really had an experience where I was like, oh, that was a bit rubbish. It never really happened. I mean, I suppose to a certain level, like, doing stuff for like adverts and things like that, sort of, it's not real acting. It's not what I trained for. But I mean, it's all experience, and it's all Gucci. I mean, like, I did an advert for a French mattress company.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Boltex, they were called. You could try and Google the advert, but I think it's been pulled. I've not been able to find it anywhere. But it sounds like, oh, you did a advert for a French mattress company. Yeah, I got to go to the Isle of Skye and like, hang out there for 3 days, and like, these beautiful mountainsides that we were filming in, these like wide open roads. It was absolutely beautiful, almost like a mini holiday, apart from the fact that I had to dress up like a sheep and crawl around on the side of a mountain in a rainstorm.
That is not what I thought you were going to say when you said you were in.
No, it wouldn't be, would it? No, the conceit of it was that I, along with another actor, were playing like scientists, trying to find like the perfect sort of mattress filler, and to do that, we had sort of ingratiated ourselves into a flock of sheep to study behavior and everything like that. So it's just like, you'd see all these sheep, and then like we'd pop up with like a clipboard. It was a really funny advert.
I am now desperate to see this advert. I'm really hoping I get to find it.
I really, really, my biggest regret of that job was not ripping it off of YouTube and keeping it for my own personal hoard, because it was really funny, and I was actually kind of proud of it in a way. Like, but yeah, I mean, to go back to your more substantive point, yeah, not really. You can't live your life with regrets, and I'm fortunate in that, I love what I do, and I do what I love. So yeah, no regrets here.
That's perfect. Are you looking to move towards more serious acting roles, or are you happy to be a comedic actor?
I take what's given. Like it's difficult to have like proper, ambitions for specific roles in this industry because you're always going to end up disappointed. But no, I follow where the parts are, and as it stands, like I've made a name for myself as a comedic performer, so that's what I get offered. But you get the occasional audition for serious stuff, and I certainly wouldn't say no. I just think it's not quite my métier. Like I'm naturally sort of gravitate towards comedy. I think just from the way I speak and the way I look and the way I act, like just that seems to be my niche, which is fine for me. Again, if I love anything more than acting, it's comedy acting.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
So when did the pizza delivery end? Was there like a moment where you were like, I need to stop this, I need to like do more auditions, I need to get a new job, or was it just something came up and you would fit the role?
It was something came up. I was ready to stay there and do whatever needed to be done. There was no sort of built-in endpoint. And I enjoyed the work anyway, so it wasn't like I was slogging through it. But as it happened, Afterlife Series 2 came about, and this was after in Afterlife Series 1, I was just a small bit part, just one of the people that he goes to interview for the newspaper, and then suddenly the part was beefed up to a series regular in all 6 episodes, and suddenly it was like, oh, well, I can get started again. That's the sort of thing where I can be like, right, I can pack this in because I'm going to be away for weeks. So I'm only a part-timer here on a 0 hour. So they're not going to, miss me too much. And so I went off and did that, and then started acting and auditioning again. But of course, 6 months later, the world came crashing down. But by that point, I'd done enough, I think, to get my momentum back on track. I was doing voiceover work, and with voiceover, the beauty of it, especially in these times, was that I could do it remotely. So I bought a little microphone, set up my little studio in my house, and that's sort of what kept me afloat. But yeah, in terms of the pizza delivery job, it essentially ended once I was able to get back on the acting wagon.
Oh, that's perfect. So it wasn't like a particularly triumphant day. You weren't so happy to ditch the uniform and.
I mean, there was a level of triumph because, like I said, I don't, I certainly don't demean the job, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not embarrassed of it. I had a good time there. But ultimately, in the back of my head, it was like, yeah, but this isn't what you want to do. You want to be an actor. That's where you want to be. So triumphant, yes, to a degree. Also, kind of sad that I'd sort of lose the camaraderie, and once you get into a routine like that, it consumes your whole life. But no, I was happy. I was happy to sort of say, right, I'm back to where I should be. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So there's no complete just horror story at all.
I mean, there was a couple of really scary deliveries.
Really?
The worst one, I would say, was I delivered to a country house, because I live out in the sticks, proper boondocks, and there was this country house near a farm. So went through the gate, drove up sort of a little dirt track, delivered the pizza. The door shut, and then I was walking back to the car, and they released the dogs.
As in the house door shut, and you're in between the house and your car.
Yeah. Out came the Rottweilers.
And they'd paid for the pizza.
They paid for the pizza. They tipped. But presumably they wanted to get the tip back at some point by having these dogs tear me limb from limb. So, I mean, I'm pretty scared of dogs anyway, and these were 2 proper brutish Rottweilers just running and barking, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to die here. This is how it ends. Mauled.
You really had to earn that tip.
That's it. And I managed to get back into the car safely, and they sort of backed off when I sort of revved the engine a bit, and was like, right, I'm going back. I'm not delivering here again. They tip well, but they try to kill you with dogs.
So if you had to rate the pizza delivery job, what would you rate it out of 5?
Out of 5, okay. I'd give it a solid 3.
That's not bad.
Because the work was good, but the work was hard, and especially on a busy weekend, it could be a very high stress, high tension environment. Not to the degree where everyone's shouting and screaming at each other. It's just that when you've got a million deliveries to do, it's but yeah. So like I say, I enjoyed the work. I liked the freedom of because I wasn't tied to the actual kitchen. I was out on delivery, so I could just hop in the car, whack a podcast on, and just drive about.
Because I actually worked in a pizza shop as well when I was, I want to say 16, would have been doing my GCSEs. but I obviously couldn't drive, so I was front of house in the kitchen.
Oh yeah.
And 16 years old is not a good time to be working when it comes to getting paid.
Oh God, no. No.
I was like, oh, I need a bit of pocket money. I need to go do something. So I was like, oh, that pizza company's hiring. I'll just go there. That'll be fine. I worked 3 Fridays, and then on the third Friday, by the end of my shift, I think I worked 5-6 hours. I was like, you know what? I don't think I could even afford a large pizza from the company I was just working at. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, I'm going home. I'm done here. Like,
Your
there's
labour is not even worth a pizza.
No, genuinely, my whole shift, I was like, that is so annoying that I can't even buy a pizza when I finish here.
Now I tell you what, you want to work in a pizza shop, you get on the delivery wagon, because like they will, like they compensate you for your time. You get petrol to keep your tips.
Yeah, one of my best friends does it. He loved it. Like he worked there for probably about 3 years just delivering pizzas, and he never had a reason to stop. He was really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the fact that, like, you know, I wasn't in the really hot kitchen all the time.
Oh, it was horrible.
Like, I just whack a couple of pizzas in the bag, hop in the car, you know, put cereal on, and off we go. Like, it was, you know, I enjoyed the freedom.
What is it actually like working with Ricky Gervais?
Really good. So Ricky is kind of unique among sort of sitcom creators in the sense that he not only stars but also writes and directs, which is something that I hadn't really experienced before. Normally you have a director come in to sort of shape it from the outside. But the beauty of it with Ricky is that he goes into it knowing exactly what coverage he wants. Famously, he likes to finish early. Which is fair enough. I mean, it's good for everyone. It keeps morale high because generally, like for a standard shooting day, obviously this can change, but a standard shooting day would be cameras start rolling at 8 and cameras wrap at 7. So, you know, it's an 11-hour day. Obviously, everyone has to come in before and set everything up. So it's long days, long hours. And stopping at 4, which is what Ricky likes to do, means that the crew can go see their families, which is nice, you know, go see their children, and like it feels sort of less intense. So as a way to work, it's really good, and he's a very sharp director and very kind and very giving. Generally, when we do a scene, we'll do it once through with the script, and then the next one will be playtime, where you can improvise and find stuff that may make in the edit, maybe not, but you know, it keeps it lively and it keeps it fun.
So to me, I always kind of thought with Ricky, like, his stand-up and kind of his acting, it kind of seems like he's playing himself. Like, how true is that to an extent?
It's an interesting question, isn't it?
Like, not obviously it's not Ricky Gervais's, you know, himself in the thing, but a lot of his viewpoints and stuff like that always seem to come through, and kind of like his general attitudes I always find came through.
I mean, I suppose, especially for something like Afterlife, which is, you know, a very... It's a very personal story, like, you know, not in the sense that what happened to his character Tony happened to Ricky. That's not the case, but it's a story about people, and I suppose if you're writing people, the best way to do that is to write what you know, and like, you know, I mean, I don't think I need to tell you that a lot of people find Ricky really funny.
Oh, hilarious!
He's very popular, so so like, you know, if people like his stuff and the way he
100%.
and like, you know, the way he conducts himself and the way he writes dialogue, then why not? I mean, it worked. We won a national television award.
Yeah, I've really never watched a show like Afterlife where it's, you know, almost tear-jerking into, you know, knee-slapping comedy within about 2 or 3 minutes.
And it's on a knife edge as well. Like, you know, that is a high wire act to play, but he pulled it off.
He smashes it.
It's I really do think I agree with you in the sense that it really is a remarkable show, and you know, easy for me to say because I'm in it, but like, you know, I actually enjoyed it. Like, you know, as a rule, I don't enjoy watching myself at all. But I really enjoyed Afterlife, so goes to show.
Going on from that, when was the last time you rewatched Bad Education, or do you ever rewatch it?
I don't rewatch anything. I watch it when it goes out just to see how it all comes together, because I find, as I say, I find watching myself absolutely appalling. Like, I find my on-screen presence genuinely sickening. So I find it a difficult watch, but like, it's always good to see how it came about. So the last time I watched Bad Education would have been the premiere of the movie.
That makes sense.
And that turned out all right. I mean, generally these things turn out all right. It's just that when I look at it, I'm like, oh, well, that was a bad acting choice, wasn't it, Ethan? Look at your stupid face.
So sticking on Afterlife for a second, Lewis, our producer, showed us a video the other day of all the outtakes.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. How do you get anything done? Because it looks on set like you're all having such a good time.
It's not the easiest thing in the world to get a clean take on Afterlife. But I mean, the boring and dry answer is because Ricky knows where the cameras are. And so, like, you know, he knows what he's filming and he knows that he can magic something together in the edit. As long as he can get one clean take, that's all he needs. The sort of more funny answer is that, yeah, we barely get through it a lot of the time. Like, especially during, because I mentioned before, like, we do the script once and then it's playtime. Playtime is always the hardest. Always the hardest, because low key, one of Ricky's many talents, but low key, the one that people don't seem to talk about, is that he is a like tier 1 casting director. So, like, you know, sounds like I'm blowing smoke, but, like, you know, he knows the actors that he got can do what they can.
That must be why he works with, you know, the same few actors.
Yeah, he has like his sort of repertory company, and the reason for that is because he knows exactly what he can get out of them and what they can bring to a script and a character. And so, like, you know, as tough as it is, we all know that this is gold, which is why I think if memory serves, Lewis will have to back me up on this. But if memory serves, the outtake video for series 2 is about 20 to 25 minutes long or something like that.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah, I mean, that's nearly a full episode.
I always found with it as well, it's going well until you hear Ricky start laughing.
Well, because I mean, that's the thing, because he has a very loud and very distinctive laugh, and it picks up on the mic generally. So as soon as that happens, you're like, right, the scene is abandoned. We're gonna have to roll back because we're all laughing. The crew's laughing. The actors are laughing. Ricky's hanging off like the monitor, like screaming, laughing. And that's not a clean take, you know what I mean? Like,
what I always said was funny as well is when you remember that he wrote all these jokes and then he sat there absolutely howling at his own jokes. It's hilarious.
But this is the thing. A lot of these come from the improv bits. So, like, you know, we've got the basic skeleton and the skeleton is funny. But generally, those breakout moments are when someone's gone off book. Someone's gone rogue. And, like, you know, I did a few scenes with David Earl, who plays Brian Gittins. And he's a king. Like, he can just make you laugh like that. And it doesn't matter... It doesn't matter your professionalism or anything like that. It's like, no, this is too funny. Like, this can't be done. And so, yeah, it's a very fun set. But the way he, like, you know, sets cameras up and sets and does his setups means that, you know, you can get a clean take, and in the edit, it won't look like we're a bunch of unprofessional morons howling at each other's jokes.
Yeah, you get enough done.
Yeah, that's it.
And then final question. Who would you rather be stuck on a desert island with, Ricky Gervais or Jack Whitehall?
Interesting. Right. I'm going to pick Ricky, and here's why.
Interesting.
Because I'm not very good at foraging. Like, so I would struggle.
From experience?
From experience. Like, you know, back when I was on that desert island. I'm not very good at foraging. And I'm not saying it would come to this. And I really hope it wouldn't, right? But in the event of me having to kill Ricky Gervais, right, I feel like I could get more meat off his bones than Jack Whitehall.
So you instinctively go to cannibalism. Perfect.
Well, this is the thing, because Ricky's a vegetarian, so I'm safe.
Fair point.
I'm safe. He's not going to kill and eat me. So, you know, really, this is. I'm looking out for myself. I'm going to be honest. This is selfish. It's absolutely selfish, and I'm fine with that, because at the end of the day, I'm stuck on a desert island. It's kill or be killed.
Yeah, fair point.
And, like, eventually we're going to run out of coconuts. So, you know, what's a man to do other than to kill his boss and eat his bones?
See, I went the other way with this. I think, obviously, never met either of them. I have basically no opinion other than what I've seen on TV. I went for Jack Whitehall.
I'll be keen to hear your reason why.
This obviously sounds stupid because you're stranded on a desert island. But I feel like Ricky Gervais would bring the mood down a bit.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. I feel like he'd be sooner to admit failure.
Right. So you're picking Jack Whitehall because of his sunny disposition.
I mean, like, as kind of like comedic people, they are kind of polar opposites. Like, Jack's the high energy kind of guy. Like, at least what you see on screen.
That's true.
And I think I would probably need that to keep my spirits high. Rather than Ricky, I think we just kind of be a bit depressed together.
Right. That is interesting. You do raise an interesting point. I concede that point. Because you're thinking in terms of, because, you know, obviously I'm thinking about maintaining my body and staying alive. But you're thinking about the downtime.
I'm thinking about morale.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I didn't turn straight to cannibalism when I heard the question.
Why? No, I concede your point. Because once I've killed and eaten Rick and Gervais, I'm on my own, aren't I? And I'll be sad on my own, I think.
Goes back to the volleyball with the painted face on it.
That's it. Wilson. No, I concede your point. Maybe you're right. Yeah, do you know what? I'm changing my answer.
I've convinced you.
Ideally, none of us would be stuck on a desert island.
Yeah, fair point.
In an ideal world.
But that's not a fun question. So for the people listening, tell us what you're working on currently.
So at the minute, I'm back on the audition grind at the minute. But the first half of the year was pretty good. I did Murder They Hope with Johnny Vegas and Sean Gibson, which is great. It's on UK TV Play, I think. You can watch that now. Afterlife Series 3 will be out at some point. Horrible History Series 9 will be out at some point. I'm sort of in an interstitial period where I've done all the work and it's waiting for it to come out, and now working on getting the next bit of work. Because I think that's another thing people forget, the long lead times on these things. Like, Afterlife we shot back in May, and Horrible Histories we shot back in June, and there's an even chance that we're not going to see them this side of Christmas. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it's keep an eye out, I would say.
Keep an eye out. Perfect. So going back, thinking back to your old self, or to someone who's just starting out, being an actor, trying to get into comedy roles, maybe. What advice would you give them, or give your old self?
Again, like we spoke earlier about how I try to be honest about these things and realistic. And my advice, again, it's difficult because I can't so much give advice as I can give anecdote. Like, everyone's route into the industry is different, and mine is kind of almost entirely based on luck. So my advice is be lucky, be visible. That's very important. Like, make yourself known, put yourself on Spotlight, casting websites, look around, find work, build a CV. That's the main thing. But yeah, be lucky, be visible, and prepare to starve. Because this industry is not friendly, and there will be times when you have to go and deliver a pizza and get eaten by dogs.
You're possibly one of the only actors I've seen that has spoken out publicly about how tough it can actually be to, just sustain living.
Well, like I said, I think there's something to be said for honesty in this industry. And I don't think it helps anyone to sort of mystify the process and make it that that it's some kind of earthly paradise on the other side of it. You do have to work hard. This is a really, really tough industry. You have to have very thick skin. You have to be ready to be knocked back at every opportunity, and it's not for everyone. So, I guess another sort of separate bit of advice is, unless you're absolutely 100% committed to this, don't bother, because it's not worth it. If you're not, if you are not absolutely focused in and committed to making this work, you're not going to get anywhere. Because it's hard enough when you're going at 150 miles an hour. You're not going to get anywhere at 30.
Yeah, it's not a job you can really shy away from. It sounds very proactive.
You've always got to be grafting. You've always got to be ready to move. And that's it really. It's, I guess the sort of the coda on it all is being an actor isn't easy, as much as it may look like it is. So, be ready, be aware, be lucky.
And how much of that work, getting auditions, is you, and how much of it is an agent or
agency-wise, I'm very lucky to be represented by Hatch Talent. Michael Ford is a very, very good guy, and he's generally is in charge of sort of funneling the auditions my way. Because generally they'll go out with a casting packet saying oh, this is the sort of thing that we want. This is who we're looking for. This sort of shape, this sort of size, this sort of age, this sort of playing range, and my agent's job is basically to filter that through to me, and then I do the audition, and then he handles all the paperwork at the other end if I get it. So yeah, it's a managerial business relationship, as opposed to the old sort of Hollywood style of a guy chomping a cigar and
someone on the flip phone next to him.
I'm gonna make you a star, kid. No, it's more sort of can you sign this contract, please? Yes, of course.
So you've said already you try not to live with regrets. Is there anything you would do differently at all?
No, I don't think I would, because even the smaller jobs that I took sort of on the way up, they imprinted something on me. Like, I wouldn't be the actor that I am today without having done the jobs. And like, it's like chaos theory, isn't it? Like, you break one sequence in the chain and you never know what could have subsequently happened after. Like, say for the sake of argument, I didn't take the role in Afterlife. I knew it was a one dayer, and so I was like, yeah, that'd be a fun day out. If I hadn't taken it, if I hadn't got it, I'd probably still be working pizza delivery now, because Afterlife 2 wouldn't have come around. So it's always difficult to sort of think of yourself to like take out aspects of what you've done, because all of it is a cohesive whole. And so to lose one part of it would make the whole sort of foundation crumble. So yeah, no, I wouldn't do anything differently. I think I've done all right, haven't I?
Oh yeah, you've done great.
It's all right.
You're on the podcast.
I'm on the podcast. I'll have been a professional actor for 10 years next February. And I'm sort of thinking about that, and sort of, because that's also going to be the year that I turn 30. And it's sort of, it's nice that it lines up like that. That's cool, isn't it? But like looking back on it, and I'm sort of thinking to myself, yeah, I did all right. Yeah. And hopefully more.
So would your advice for, younger people be to would it be take everything you can get, or would it be selective, or?
There's no such thing as small jobs, only small actors. And like, especially like, again, talking sort of industry wise, like especially someone sort of my level or lower, or even slightly higher than me, you can't afford to be picky. So, and at the end of the day, like I said, no matter what the job is, you'll take something from it. You'll learn something, you'll meet someone, you'll network, you'll work with a director, you'll get to know their style. You can speak to the crew and learn about how the whole thing works. Like, you get a sense of the industry and how it works. Like, I went into Bad Education with no formal training, no camera training, nothing like that. I learned on the job. And that's probably the best way to be a professional performer. Like, you can study the theory for as long as you want, but you will learn more on a set in a day than you will a month doing theory. So yeah, take any job you can, I'd say.
So a lot of people I know who are, kind of actors or like trying to be entertainers, they're always trying to tell me that maybe they should go to drama school and carry on doing that. How much weight do you think that holds? Is that something you would advise or not?
Again, it's difficult. It's the advice anecdote thing again. I didn't train, so I don't know. Like, I don't have experience with that system. What I would say is that they're there for a reason. And like, certainly I do know people who have come up through that route. So it's certainly not a bad thing to do if you've got the discipline for it. It's funny enough, this is on Horrible Histories. I realised that I was with a group of, I think, 5 other actors, and I was the only one who hadn't trained at a drama school. So it works. The system works. And I would, if it's something that you want to do, I have absolutely no doubt that it's a good idea.
Is that something that's obvious to you when you're on set? Like, oh, these people like have clearly had like formal training, or?
I mean, not really. But then again, that's sort of largely dependent on the job that you're doing. Like, it might come about if you're doing a very serious Shakespeare, because they will have been taught how to handle the bard. But like, with a knockabout comedy, it's knockabout comedy. Like, it's what it is. I've never felt lesser having not trained. Again, because this is a practical industry. Yeah, you learn on the job, and that's where you pick it up. But yeah, I mean, again, like I said, I don't know. Maybe when they let me be Hamlet, they won't return my emails. When they let me be Hamlet, it might be a bit different. But who knows? Who could say?
Yeah, it's good to hear. Like, it's good to hear there's more than just one route into it.
Oh yeah, and like everyone's journey is different. That's one of the tricky things with giving advice, because like there's no one way. There's every actor has a different story.
It seems like such an obscure field to like try and get information about as well. That's why like having you come on and kind of demystify it is so good.
I think it's important. I think it is important because, as you say, it is kind of sort of arcane and obscure. And I think transparency is always a good thing in any industry, no matter what you're doing. So to be transparent about like, yeah, it's hard and you're probably going to fail, is better advice than, oh, if you just follow your dream, that's nice and all, but like it takes graft.
All right, well, thank you so much, Ethan, for coming on. You can follow Ethan on TikTok and Instagram at Ethan D. Lawrence?
Ethan D. Lawrence, yes.
Yeah.
I have unified social media. It's so good. I've got the same handle and everything.
That must make life so easy.
Oh, yeah. But the reason why it's Ethan D. Lawrence is because Ethan Lawrence was taken when I made my Twitter.
Couldn't send Twitter a little message to be like, look, I'm in bad education, you know.
The thing is, though, I've worked so hard to make all of the other ones the same that I'd have to change them, and like it's going to be a hassle. Now, Ethan D. Lawrence everywhere.
So where can people see you next, or do you not know? Is that up to editors and?
It's very much going to be when it comes out, but keep an eye out for Afterlife Series 3 and Horrible History Series 9. Those are the most pertinent ones at the minute. And as I say, Murder They Hope on UK TV Play. If you want to watch back episodes of Afterlife, they're on Netflix. You can go and have a look at that.
I'll be doing it before season 3 drops. I'll have to make sure I watch the whole thing again. Yeah, I'd need a refresher. Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this, then please make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on future episodes. If you're really feeling the love, then please drop us a 5-star review on Apple and follow us on Instagram and TikTok too, at StudentBeans. See you next time.